going on, everybody, and welcome back to Frankie's Aquatics right here on the wonderful platform that is YouTube. I hope you all had a fantastic week, and yeah, I hope it's been very productive. It seems to be the people are now finally recovering from Christmas, the strain and the expense of it all. As much as it is a beautiful holiday to have, it's very expensive and it's over really quick. People go, "Did you have a nice Christmas?" I go, "Yeah, it was just gone really. It's kind of expensive and it just went really quick." I know, it's kind of crazy. So this week I want to introduce you to a little character of mine. It's quite a nice story. I hope you're going to enjoy it, and I hope that eventually, that somewhere along the line, this little chap will find a place to call home. So this week I'm going to introduce you to a little character, which, the big rule of thumb when it comes to breeding any animal for that matter, anything, cats, dogs, rats, hats, snakes, cakes. The big rule of thumb in the hobby is not to name the animals that you're planning on selling, because what tends to happen is you kind of give them a name, you give them a little character, you give them a personality, you give them an identity, and then it becomes really hard to depart with them. In the beginning I was very guilty of naming everybody. I had literally drawers full of axolotls, and that's Bill over there, yeah, that's Bill, that's Andy, don't mind Andy over there. I was terrible for naming absolutely everything. Just for the record, never had one called Andy or Bill. I had Buddy and I had Flick, and I've still got them to this day. That's my point. When you give things a name, you give them a character. You start building a rapport with that little character, and before you know it, you end up not stuck with them, but you end up keeping them. And if you did that with everything, you'd have just hundreds of tanks and no friends and family, because you'd just be inundated with them. You never give your axolotls a name, or at least the ones that you're selling anyway, because yeah, you'll become attached and it's going to make it a lot harder when it does come time to sell. It kind of happened today, funnily enough. I had a lovely lady come today with her partner, and she was looking for a wild type axolotl, and there was two wild types that I'd actually, not purposely in a way, okay, kind of a little bit, I kind of kept back from selling. And oh god, they're so adorable. I love wild types. I think wild type axolotls are massively underappreciated in the hobby. I think they're absolutely stunning. They come in so many different varieties, and I just think they're a really beautiful morph of an axolotl. They're a shining example of what an axolotl should be. They're absolutely stunning. Anyway, I had these two wild types that were left from my very first spawn, which have kind of always been up for sale, but I kind of never really over advertised them, because I was quite happy to keep them at the same time. I hadn't given them names. I hadn't broken the golden rule. I hadn't given them names, but I had grown quite used to having them around. They're adorable, and I'm going to definitely miss one, because I sold one today to this lovely couple that came out today. So if you're watching this video, it was very hard to kind of give that axolotl up, but I know very, very well that obviously the little guy's going, or the little girl as we think that she might be, is obviously going to go to a good home, so have fun getting to know her. She's absolutely adorable. So yes, the first rule of thumb is don't name your axolotls. If you're planning on selling them, don't do it, because you'll never sell them. So this little character kind of came into my life on a few spawns back. I noticed him in the egg. His egg was very different compared to us. Now, I didn't document anything, and I kind of regret it now. I should have taken pictures. I should have taken more earlier footage of videos and stuff, but I never did. Because if I'm honest with you, I never really expected the little guy to make it. He was severely smaller than his siblings. He was a lot smaller right from the egg. I didn't think he was ever going to make it out of the egg, but this little chap did finally come out of the egg, and he had almost like a shark tail fin. It was really hard to explain. The best way to explain it is almost like a shark's fin, but on the tip of his tail. So let's say your axolotl's tail is like that. His was kind of like crooked, so it kind of grew normal, and it had this extra piece, which wouldn't really be that problematic, I didn't think. He was severely smaller than his siblings. His legs and his front and his back legs never really grew out like the rest of them did. So I quickly intervened and I separated him away. And I also fell a little bit in love with the guy. I could see he was struggling swimming with this extra piece of skin almost. It was almost like a skin tag that was kind of peeling away from his tail. It seemed to be growing quicker than his tail. So he had his little tiny stumpy tail, which wasn't really growing, but this extra piece was kind of growing, and it was becoming really intrusive. It was kind of like flapping about, and it would have caused problems as and when his back legs, if they ever did grow through, it would cause problems for him with swimming. So I had to kind of intervene. I've never done this before. I'm not one to cull. A lot of breeders cull any kind of bad batches of whatever they might be breeding. I absolutely do not intend to do that. I let nature take its course. If there's any guys that are a little bit smaller and a little bit more needy, I separate them off pretty sharpish, and I just give them a little bit more TLC, and I grow them out. And yeah, I'm not one for culling. So this little chap instantly became kind of like my obsession. Every day the water changes, I did the extra care checks on him to make sure he's okay, and it became really clear quite quickly that the chances of him surviving were very, very slim. He was a lot smaller. He was a tiny, as they're called, basically a dwarf axolotl, or at least I assumed he is. And his tail was becoming very problematic. The fin was growing, it was hanging off, it was just not going to work. If he wanted to have any kind of quality of life, I had to intervene, and culling was most certainly not on the cards. So I decided to put the guy through a very minor surgery, and I intervened, and I just gently snipped off a tiny piece of the tail. So basically where his tail was growing, he had this almost an extra tail growing attached to the end of that tail. I gently removed him, I popped him onto a tissue, and with a very, very sharp Stanley blade, I just removed the very tip of his tail. He didn't even flinch. I gently popped him back in the water, treated the water just in case for infection purposes, and I gave him a couple of days rest. And in a couple of days he was still there. He was going strong, his tail seemed to kind of been healing, where it obviously intervened. There was no sign of the extra tail, and he's doing great. I named him, I called him Tiny Tim. I don't know why, but he was just so small and cute, and the name seemed quite fitting. I just said it without even giving it any thought one day. I opened up the drawer to greet him, and I said, "Morning, Tiny Tim." And it just stuck. The wife overheard me and went, "Who's Tiny Tim?" And I went, "This little chap," and I told him his story. And the wife was like, "You can't keep him, you can't do this." I went, "No, I'm not intending to keep him." So anyway, without further ado, let me introduce you to my wonderful little man. He's a little wild type, and he's known as Tiny Tim. Here's my current system that I'm working with in my bedroom. The wife absolutely loves me, just invading all the space. Still bad. That's a big bed though. Maybe I'll bring that down to a single. What do you reckon? More room? More room? On a slightly more serious note, this is my equipment right now. So this is the baby rack where all the babies go into, where they can grow up, grow out, and then hopefully from here find their new homes. This right here is, I would say, a rack. It's not really a rack as such. It was going to be a rack system, but I couldn't find any that was suitable enough that would do what I needed to do. So this basically is going to be the breeder system. This will be filtered. I do have the air pump down there. I just haven't got the air pipe, and I haven't got the air filters, sponge filters as of yet. But yeah, there it is. So basically, it is, at the moment, it's 4. It can be 6 high. That's right, missus. I'm going to be buying another 2 of these. It can be 6 high. I've soldered my own holes into them. So this is where they're going to feed them from. Obviously not so much the top guys, but if I was down here, let's say, I can feed from there. I can water change from there, and all that other fun stuff that comes with it. They obviously just lift off. They're just storage tubs. And inside there we go. Let's take the lid off so we can say hello. This isn't Tiny Tim, by the way. This is the other wild that's recently, as of today, he's on his own for a little while until he finds his forever home. So there he is. And a little man. You think it's feeding time, don't you? Now this will all be filtered. I was looking at trying to filter the whole damn thing, the whole system here. I wanted to filter it all and have all tiny little sponge filters, but the truth be told, it's going to be too problematic. I need to be able to get to these drawers each and every day. Water change and all that. It's just going to prove, it's going to be a nightmare. It's not going to be practical. So I'm going to look at just filtering this part. A lot more easier, a lot more manageable, and yeah, it makes more sense. Okay, fair enough. You've broke me. You ready? Are you ready? Some num-nums there for you. I kind of dropped them a little bit in front of you. That was really bad. Just here. Here, look. Come down. He's like, I don't really want pellets. I want worms. But you know what? He's not even going to see him, is he? Right, so if we go over here, I believe this is where Tiny Tim is. Let's have a look. Yeah, there he is. Hello, Tim. How you doing? Thanks for the bubble. That's very cute. So yeah, at first glance you wouldn't really question it, you just assume he's a normal wild type and he's happy and he's healthy, and you wouldn't really think anything of him, to be honest. You just think he's your average wild. But if you look a bit closer, you will see his tail is severely shorter than the rest of him. Well, by now his tail should be quite big. He is still fairly young, but if you look very closely at his legs as well, look, let's zoom in. Can you see? His right leg, this one, is considerably shorter than that one. I don't know if it shows very well. And if you look at the front, it looks like they've been nipped off, but I can absolutely assure you they haven't. He never grew them out. I thought he'd never grow them at one point, but he grew them really, really, really late. Now, I'm not saying they won't continue to develop, because they do seem a little bit longer than they were a little while ago. So there's still a good chance that they will grow out. He might just be a slow bloomer, or it could even be a she. We keep calling him a he, we don't know yet. But as you can see, he is considerably smaller in comparison to, let's say, where can we show you some of his siblings? There we go. I don't really want to open the drawers, but that's one of his, when he wants to focus. I don't want to focus, is it? Yeah, let's have a look in here then. Quick look in this drawer without causing too much trouble. There we go. That's his siblings there, look. I don't know if you're going to be able to see very much on the video, but these are considerably bigger than he is. Considerably bigger. I keep them in small groups of like 4, if not 5. And these guys, sorry about the lack of focus, it's because the water's moving. But these guys, as you can see, are considerably bigger. And again, look at the tail. Do you see what I mean about the tail, for example? A lot bigger than little tiny Tim, which is currently over here. So I love him, he's so beautiful, and he could happily live out his days with me. But I would like one day to find a forever home for him. He deserves it. He's a bit of a slow walker, as you can see, look. He struggles finding he struggles with his mobility a little bit. He can swim. He couldn't swim for a long while, bless him, because his tail just wasn't sufficient enough. There's no scarring at all, because obviously axolotls have the blessing of being able to grow back limbs and body parts and all that. But if you look very closely at the very end there's a tiny little white line. That's where his extra tail was growing. Thankfully, it hasn't grown back since obviously I intervened. But that's Tiny Tim. Just to give you an example of how small he is, there's my hand next to the tub. He's considerably small, bless him, but he's so cute. He's as cute as a button. So there he is. As you can see, he's adorable. Now, I know other breeders would recommend that he was culled when he was a lot more smaller, because obviously they would say his quality of life's obviously going to be affected, and it's not fair on him. But for me, I don't know about you, but he doesn't look like he's in too much discomfort. He just seems like he's a slow bloomer, and he's a little bit dumb and a little bit more TLC. I think it's very easy to instantly write things off that are imperfect, but I think we're all imperfect in our own way, aren't we? And I think little tiny Tim there definitely deserved a good shot at life. If you'd have seen him, I really wish I took photos and stuff, but I wasn't under the impression that he was going to make it, if I'm completely honest with you. I honestly thought he wasn't going to make it. I thought he would just never develop. A lot of babies literally hatch out of there and never develop and die pretty quickly, unfortunately. It's very rare after you get past the 2 to 3 week mark. It's very rare you'll find you'll lose any. You will tend to have whatever's survived that length of time, as long as there isn't a deformity or anything that's really obvious. You very rarely lose anything from there. So I think he's completely out of the woods. He's adorable, he's cute. I've named him, I've given him a little bit of a character, a little bit of personalisation. Maybe he'll stay with me for the rest of his days, I don't know. But if anybody is really interested, then do get in touch above. Again, serious applicants only that are obviously based within the UK as well. I'm not saying I'll ever find him that forever home. I'm going to be really picky, and please don't take it personal. It's going to be nothing aimed at any of you. If any of you inquire about him and I politely refuse, it's not that I'm snubbing anybody. It's going to be hard to let go. It's going to be very hard for me to let go of him. He is the character. He's the one that the kids always ask about. How's Tiny Tim? As soon as I get up in the morning, is Tim okay today? Yeah, so we've got a lot of love for Tiny Tim around here. He's adorable, isn't he? He really is. Now, I don't know what the future holds for Tiny Tim. I don't know what his health's going to be like, while he's under my wing and he's under my care, I will do absolutely everything to look out for him. As you can see, mainly by the videos, his front feet have never really developed correctly, and his back legs are very short in comparison to the rest of his brothers and sisters. Now, I can only assume he's got dwarfism. He's a tiny, as they're called in the hobby. Tinies tend to have a lot more complications in regards to health. Their organs don't really slow down growing. It can become quite a squeeze inside those tiny little bodies, hence the name tiny. And yeah, they can have a lot of issues in later life, and normally they don't live quite as long as their others that kind of they grew out with. They will tend to have a significant shorter life. But I'm not saying, this is a tough one. All I'm saying is while he's under my care, I don't know why I get so emotional about these things, it's crazy. All I'm saying is while he's under my care, I will not let anything happen to him. I'll not let anything, woof. I need to take a second there. I nearly got mad tears. I cry too much on this channel. I'm so emotional, I wear my heart on my sleeve so much. Deep breath. But what I am saying is while he's under my wing and he's under my care, I will give him the best care I possibly can. There'll be no harm coming to Tiny Tim, and I've named him and I really shouldn't have named him, but he's so cute. So what I'm saying today is if you are based within the UK and you have experience or a thirst for experience in regards to axolotls and axolotl care, and you think maybe in the future you might be able to give this little guy a home, he's free to a good home. I won't charge anything for him. All I'll ask is you pay the postage fees, that's it. I'm not just going to chuck him out to the first shouter. So if you're like me, I'm not just going to go yes because you said it first. I want to obviously find him the right home. He deserves a fighting chance at life. Obviously just be aware that he's going to have complications in later life. I can only assume. He might prove us all wrong. He might grow out, he might catch up with his brothers and sisters, and he might live a happy, fulfilled life. I don't know. But I'm just saying his legs, I don't know if they'll ever fully develop. His front feet, and his toe, I love him. Oh, I don't even want to give him up. He's so beautiful. But he will hopefully one day, like the rest of his family have done, his brothers and his sisters, he will find his forever home. Now, if that is you and you're based within the UK, I'm so sorry I have to make it strict and it has to be within the UK. There's no options right now for me to ship abroad, even within the EU, unfortunately. But if you ever find yourself in a position where you think maybe you could have a little spot in your heart for Tiny Tim, then get in contact on the email above. I don't know when it will be. I'm going to keep him under my wing for the foreseeable until I feel he's at a position where he can sustain himself quite comfortably and he's eating better. I mean, he's got a very small appetite, bless him. He tries his best, but he has got a very small appetite. He's adorable. He's now starting to look up for his food, all that fun stuff that comes with the baby axolotls. For me, that's one of the biggest things for me as a breeder. You go from these almost like little tadpole creatures that are absolutely adorable with big bulging black eyes, and as they get older they start to realise when the drawer opens, if they look up, they learn that ability to be able to look up and sense that food's there. And he's doing that. He's doing great, and I love him dearly, and I just hope that one of you will love him nearly as much as I do to hopefully give the guy a home. So again, serious inquiries only. By all means, get in contact on the social media stuff to ask questions and all that. But if you are serious and you think maybe, just maybe, you could find a place in your heart for him and your home, then by all means get in touch on the email above. It's not the sort of video I was expecting to do this week. I was going to attach this story onto the back end of another video, another week. But I just thought he's a lovely little guy. He deserves his own little video. And I know that many of you are going to fall in love with him just as much as I have. He's quite the character. He's quite friendly, considering he's still quite small. And compared to his brothers and his sisters who are considerably bigger than him, he is quite small still, bless him. But at the same time, in the same breath, he's fighting fit and good for life. He's not giving up. If he was going to have passed by now, I think he probably would have. But he's not. He's eating very small amounts of bloodworm, and I absolutely love him. Thank you all so much for stopping by and checking out this week's video. A bit of an emotional one again, wasn't it really? But I hope you've enjoyed the video nevertheless. Thank you all so much for your continued support. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit the like button. It just lets me know that you like my stuff. If you haven't done so already, also hit the subscribe button and also hit that notification bell, which will notify you each and every week when I upload every Monday at 1 PM UK time. So until next time, ta-ta for now. Woohoo! believe I nearly cried. What's going on? I'm so invested. I'm so invested with it all.